Welcome to the Hot Pot with Princess and the DJ. I'm Tracy, aka the DJ.
And I'm Princess May, aka the Princess.
For this month's show, we're doing something a little bit different.
For February, we're celebrating Black History Month by speaking to leaders in the Black community who are fighting for racial and health equity.
Keep watching to hear about all the incredible work they're doing.
Hi, Rhonda. Could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Morehouse School of Medicine's National COVID-19 Resiliency Network?
Sure. My name is Rhonda Holliday, and I am an associate professor in the Department of Community Health and Preventive Medicine at Morehouse School of Medicine, and I also serve as the strategic lead for the National COVID-19 Resiliency Network. And the National COVID-19 Resiliency Network, also known as the NCRN, provides awareness of critical health information as well as linkages to services to help families and individuals recover from difficulties that may have been caused or worsened by the COVID-19 pandemic. And this effort is funded by the Office of Minority Health.
Thanks, Dr. Holliday. Just pivoting a little bit, could you tell us what Black History Month means to you?
Sure. Black History Month is a time of reflection on the contributions of Black African Americans to the United States. I think it's also a time to learn new, interesting, and little-known Black history facts. I'm always amazed at little tidbits that I learn each year. And I think it's also, I take it as an opportunity for me to also reflect on my own family's history.
Oh, thank you for sharing. I know there's always something new to learn. As a follow-up, whose voice do you want to see amplified and uplifted in the narrative of Black history?
Yeah, so this is a really, I think, hard question. I think because there are so many worthy voices to uplift, I think it's important to highlight those individuals who have made really significant impacts in their communities who may not have a national stage. So we all are familiar with individuals such as Martin Luther King, W.E.B. Du Bois, Barack Obama, but there are so many other people and so many more people in local communities that have made and are making important impacts in their community each day. And so I think that there's an opportunity for us to highlight and amplify those voices. They're out there advocating for justice, working with community members to increase equity in a number of different areas. And so I think that those are the people that I would love to see amplified in the narrative of Black history.
So I know both our works are really intersectional, and it's so important to have historical context and cultural competency for effective community outreach. What can health advocates learn from racial justice movements? Or how does the fight for racial and health equity go hand in hand?
Yeah, so I think one thing to learn is that the fight is far from over, and do not get complacent with whatever gains are made, but always continue to advocate and agitate for change. Trying to affect systemic changes really takes a prolonged effort. So I think that's one thing that can be learned from racial justice movements. And then when we think about health equity and racial justice, I would say definitely that they go hand in hand. Health inequities are systemic, just as racial inequality is systemic, and they are intrinsically linked. And so these health inequities that we're seeing are really rooted in racial inequity. And so you cannot really advocate for one without advocating for the other.
Thank you. And then in our work with COVID-19, we've seen the pandemic has further exposed these inequities exist. How do we ensure that voices of communities of color are heard both during the pandemic and beyond?
I think it's really important that we continue to use vehicles such as the NCRN to elevate voices and to elevate community. I think what's become even more important and more apparent, and I think some things that we've done here at Morehouse School of Medicine, is realize that leaders in academia, government, healthcare, and in other venues really have a responsibility to make sure that the voices of the community are centered and elevated. And there has to be that continued collaboration with both community, in some cases, even having the community take the lead. So it's incumbent upon those who are in those sort of leadership positions to make sure that those voices are elevated.
And do you feel like progress has been made towards health equity during the pandemic?
So I think, some progress has been made. What I've been really impressed by is that I think, one, health inequities have received definitely increased attention as a result of this pandemic. But I was really excited to see that there were efforts being made to make sure that disproportionately impacted communities had access to testing, as well as being prioritized for vaccine rollout in some communities. Of course, we know that this prioritization in some communities was also, we had people who were taking advantage of those systems and coming from outside of the community to take advantage of that availability. But it was really good to see that there was prioritization in some of those communities. And I think that was a sign of progress. We definitely still have a lot of work to do, but I think that there has been more of a recognition by a number of different entities within the country that there needs to be some work done in order to decrease these health inequities and to promote health equity.
Moving forward, how do we leverage and grow this momentum together?
Yeah, so I would say that, what we've started should definitely not stop. We have a tendency that when we think things are over, so when and if this pandemic is ever officially declared over, let's not stop the work that's been done. I think we've created some really good collaborations between a number of different communities, a number of different organizations, and I would really like to see us continue to do that work and tackle other areas of inequity in health. So just making sure that we continue to take advantage of those collaborations and that we just don't let it go by the wayside, so that the next time something happens, we're caught flat-footed, as a common saying, that we are always prepared. And I think if we continue those collaborations, continue the work that we've already started, and quite honestly, that many communities were already doing, but we just sort of harness that energy and that work. If we can continue to do that, then I think we can make some really great progress.
Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Holliday.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed being here, and thank you for taking the time to talk to me about these important issues.